Take over, we have to with us.
Yeah, on my own back, what's that? 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I had a shot, 30, we had it here. I had to get to the job.
Set up, looking at 10:30, get set up. Hey guys,
On Friday.
that's what it is. 2 o'clock. 2 maybe 2 in before lunch and then 2 in after. Day's over with. Go do the 4 of them piece or finish the food.
How many people's jumping in?
I don't think there's very many of us, is there?
How many people's on landlord? I think your schedule is good. I'll let you loop on that.
DJ's whole crew, except for chorus. Our whole crew, except for Schumann.
Yeah, let's get Casey with that double circle under the table. Like Casey with a double circle under the table.
I wasn't part of that. How I can miss that? Oh, yeah. He figures in the God family all that stuff.
Mark the tire Monday, so pushed everything back.
I see you look.
What you look at that? What you look at that? Look at that. That's what I do.
All right. Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Thanks for coming. Full room this time. That's good.
Amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. Right.
Miracles does that.
Some new faces since the last time I was here. So my name's Kevin. I know most of you guys. It's been a little while. So this month we're going to talk about driving safety. That's the topic. We've talked about that before in the past, but we're going to do it a little bit different this time in that what I've taught in the past is called Smith system, right? I don't know if you remember that or not, but Smith system is basically a method of driving. It's kind of like defensive driving, but a little bit different to it. This time I have a video, and that video is going to cover the basics of Smith system for us. But the good part of the video is it actually shows the guy driving, and he's talking as he's driving, and he's explaining what he's doing, what he's looking for, and how he's applying the Smith system. So it's good. It kind of shows you, it's not just information, you get to see a guy actually practice it. So in that way, it's good. The reason why we picked driving was because, honestly, everybody does it, right? And you might be surprised, those of you who've sat through this class before, who've been here before, you know this, but driving is the #1 cause of death in the workplace every single year. I've been doing safety for 18 years, and every year of those 18 years, on the top of the list is driving, hasn't changed. So, you guys have an idea of how frequently someone dies on the road?
2 minutes.
13 minutes, every 13 minutes. So, you know, in the hour we'll be in here, that's 4 people will lost their lives on the road. Hopefully it's nobody we know, but it's serious stuff. So, you know, what you do, hanging off buildings and stuff, that's dangerous too. But this actually is your most likely chance of getting seriously injured or killed. So, and it's not, the bad part is like when you guys are hanging from a rope or getting up a ladder or whatever, your safety for the most part is in your own hands. When you're on the road, it's not just in your own hands, is it? It's the people around you too. So you could be doing everything you possibly want to do right, but some knucklehead next to you costs you your life or whatever. So you have to account for that too. I want to do something real quick. I want you guys each to stop, and I want you each to kind of rank yourself as a driver. How do you think you are? We've done this before.
10.
1 being low, 10 being high?
We just,
10.
yeah. So 1 being, you feel like you're extremely unsafe, like you really shouldn't even be behind the wheel. Okay. 10, you think you're Captain Safety, like you are just spot on. So how safe of a driver do you think you are? You don't have to share your number, but I want you to get your number. Everybody got your number?
3.
I think we're gonna, oh, you're gonna share it
I'm
right
going
now.
for 3.
You're going for, we got somebody pretty, he's humble. Thanks for that. So, 3, anybody up high? You think you're, yeah, I do think you are now.
I'm a 10. I drive 5 miles under the speed limit.
Okay.
He ain't lying.
No, you're a 0. Get the hell off road. You're supposed to be in the
You're the one that causes the wreck.
So we have a 3, we have a 10, and probably everywhere in between. All right. Well, good. I want you to hang on to that number, okay? So hang on to that number. I want to talk for a second about autopilot mode. So, everybody drove here today, right? Am I right? Anybody hit your ride? Maybe you hit your ride, but
I used to ride.
oh, you hit your ride. Okay. But most everybody else drove. Raise your hand if you remember every moment of that drive here. You weren't driving, man.
I wasn't.
You didn't sit out on this one. All right.
I was paying attention for the drive.
Yeah, okay, all
I
right.
pay attention driving. I watch everything around me.
Okay, good.
New intersections, everything.
Good.
Because it is the other idiots that causes the problems.
Who?
Nobody else raised their hand. So most of you guys don't remember it. So here's the deal: is we're all human, right? I mean, it's hard to keep your attention solely focused on one thing at all times. Even when you're doing your work and cleaning windows, I guarantee at times you're thinking about the weekend or something else or conversations or whatever. That's just how we are. You know, unless you're really, really focused at blocking every thought out and just being spot on with what you're doing, your mind is going to stray. And on long drives and things like that, that's just gonna happen at times. So what happens is, when you do that, what you do is you revert to your habits. So if your habits are speed, well, you say you're under the limit. But if your habit is to go under the limit or to go over the limit or whatever it is, you're naturally going to get there. Okay? So you could be intently focused on following the speed limit, but once you start thinking about something else, you're speeding up. Or maybe it's following distance. Maybe you're naturally used to being, pretty far back. Or let me switch that. Maybe you're naturally used to being a couple car lengths from the vehicle in front of you, but you realize, man, I need to back off. So you're really focusing on that. When you go into autopilot mode and you kind of switch out and you phase off, what happens is you close that gap. Okay, so we all have habits, but the hard part is changing those habits. And I can tell you, from my standpoint, I've had to change those habits. I've been doing safety, like I said, for 18 years. Part of that time, for 8 years of it, I was a safety director for Miller Pipeline Corporation. And when I was there, they gave me a company truck. They gave me the keys, like early on when I first got hired. But they also told me, we practice what we call Smith system training here, what we're doing here. And you're going to teach it. And I realized, man, if I'm a safety guy and I got to teach this stuff, I better follow it. Because if I don't follow it,
How are you going to teach it?
Huh?
How are you going to teach it?
Yeah. How am I'm not going to know it, but also, if I get in an accident, who's going to listen to me? Right? They say, here you hear Kevin, talk about following distance, but yet he rear ends somebody. Nobody's going to listen to me. So I realized I better practice what I preach here. So I went through the Smith system. They asked me to rank myself, and I did. Thought I was pretty good. Got out on the road, started trying to practice all this, and I'm realizing I'm not as good as I thought I was. One of my problems is my following distance is way too close. And so I had to really work on pushing myself back. But what I'll tell you is over time, of realizing what would happen is, we'll just say, for example, and you'll hear this later, following distance for Smith system, they say 4 seconds. Okay? 4-second following distance. I was like at 2. So what happened with me is I'd be at 2, I'd have to force myself back and think, man, I'm pretty far back here. But I forced myself back, and over time, my mind would start to wander. What would happen is I'd close that gap, and then I'd realize, I'd kind of snap out of it and realize I'm too close. I got to fall back. And so it was a constant battle of pushing myself back. But over time, what I'll tell you is I reprogrammed my autopilot. Eventually, I'd snap out of it and say, man, I've been maintaining my 4 seconds. And then at that point, it becomes where almost if you get closer than the 4 seconds, you get uncomfortable. It's almost like your personal space, right? If I was talking to you and I'm up like this, you're going to be like, dude, back off. Yeah, that's right. You got coffee breath. But, you know what I mean? So, but you can reprogram your habits, and that's really where it's at. If you can naturally get yourself to drive safe, then when you're not thinking about it, a lot of the times you will, result in those habits. So, with that said, I'm not going to drag it on much more. What we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and show that video, and I think we have people online in Kentucky watching. I'm hoping they can hear this well. I don't know. But we have speakers in the ceiling, but I couldn't get them to work this morning, so we're going to have to, it's coming out of the
Many surveys have been conducted to evaluate how people feel about their driving skills. With
speakers up
remarkable
there.
consistency, when people are asked to compare their driving capabilities to those of the average driver, about 9 out of 10 will say their skills are superior to those demonstrated by the typical motorist. Can all these people be that good? Unfortunately, the answer is no. Year after year throughout the world, over 1 million people die in sudden, tragic collisions.
That's true. And millions more will learn that their skills were inadequate at the very moment that they needed them most. It takes just seconds to get from here to here. It may take several minutes to go from here to here. It could take a number of days to go from here to here. But from this destination, there are no more journeys. Of course, you don't really believe you will be involved in a collision today, next month, or next year. Nobody does. You know it's a possibility, yet the prospects of involvement don't frighten you enough to keep you from turning the key.
That's right, but as surely as the sun will rise over the eastern horizon tomorrow, by the time the sun sets, hundreds of thousands of people will wish they had never left their beds. Others will not have the opportunity to wish at all. Almost all of them will be involved in preventable traffic collisions. But we can help. Smith System Driver Improvement Institute has been teaching advanced driving skills to people since 1952. The system works. In fact, it works so well that we have enjoyed the trust of over half of the current Fortune 500 organizations. These progressive, forward-thinking companies have learned that when their experienced drivers are exposed to our on-road training, their collision incidents typically fall from 30% to as much as 80%, and that benefits everyone. We'll also explain how you can save a significant amount of fuel. In addition, you'll learn how to minimize the maintenance costs of your personal and professional vehicles. We'll even help you see how you can reduce the stress that can accompany driving. But first, we'd like to summarize the fundamentals of the system. It's simple to learn, and it's easy to use.
You'll also find that it won't take you any longer to get from point to point, and you can use it anywhere in any vehicle at any time of the day or night. And since you will be driving anyway, it won't even set you back any time to practice what you learn. The benefits of the system will come to you when you learn to master our space, visibility, and time techniques. You see, it is the mismanagement of these critical driver assets that gets too many people into trouble.
To understand this, you need to know that every driver's actions when behind the wheel are reactions to what they see in the driving environment that surrounds them. The information people use to make those decisions is drawn from an area of awareness that moves with them as they travel. We call this area the reaction zone. Of course, people's reaction zones aren't really rectangular. We use this shape to simulate a zone of action and awareness.
Yeah, in reality, reaction zones grow larger and smaller and change shape constantly. These changes occur as a result of fluctuations in the driving area and each driver's attention to the driving task. But the primary determinant of the size, shape, and content of each person's personal reaction zone is driver skill. The average driver has a reaction zone that extends 3 to 6 seconds ahead of where he or she is in traffic, and it includes select objects in the immediate vicinity of the driver's vehicle. Unfortunately, most drivers pack a great deal of activity into this small area of awareness. They must first see what needs to be seen. Then they must analyze what they see for its relevance. Next, they must make valid driving decisions. And finally, they must act upon those decisions. People must do all of these things over and over, and they must do them all consistently well in order to avoid collisions. There are two problems with this approach to driving. The first is that most people can't pack that much activity into that little time and that little space indefinitely without making mistakes. The second problem is that because most people fall into stares frequently as they drive, they visually neglect very large parts of their driving environments for extended periods of time. Inactive eyes lead to incomplete information. When people have incomplete information, they make mistakes. There's little margin for error in this driving style. This is true because collisions occur when drivers fail to see what they need to see, when they improperly evaluate the information they receive, or when they don't have solutions for the problems they experience. In this confined area, average drivers see just about all of the information that they will use to make their driving decisions. This zone also provides them with the time and the space they will use to react to whatever variables they encounter. This is inside of the box thinking. You see, for most people, the reaction zone is usually filled with objects. Visibility is restricted, time is in short supply, and options are few. In part, this happens because average drivers often move in packs. Packs are filled with people who place little value on space or visibility.
To gain more space for the vehicle, more visibility for the driver, and more time to make decisions, people must change how they use the reaction zone, and they must add another zone of awareness. For advanced drivers, the reaction zone should be used to create as much space for the vehicle as conditions will permit. Now, we know that you can't manufacture space in heavy traffic, but if you look for it, you'll usually find more space available to you than you may have believed. Many people race through the space to get back into packs. When you have space, even if it isn't all you'd want, you can use it to maximize visibility. Now the pieces are in place to provide for an escape path should one become necessary. With built-in space and visibility, you are in a position to add a much larger area of awareness that we call the pre-action zone.
This zone is used for big picture viewing. Consistent, good driving decisions stem from having time to evaluate the variables that surround you. We consider this to be outside of the box thinking. The pre-action zone allows you to expand your area of awareness to include information that is available to you at least 15 seconds up the road. It encompasses action in and near intersections, on sidewalks, in relevant parking areas, in adjacent lanes, and to your rear. When you are using these flexible zones effectively, you are gathering plenty of information in a relaxed, habitual way. You'll find that this can reduce the stress that can sometimes be associated with driving.
Yes, and you are using the information you gather to anticipate trouble and to allow for whatever major and minor traffic issues you may encounter. And as we have demonstrated year after year, with person after person and organization after organization, skillful, safe driving is a very attainable goal. Now, to make this goal possible, we'd like to show you how to use our 5 keys to space cushion driving to build and use the reaction and pre-action zones around your vehicle. These are the keys. Aim high in steering. Get the big picture. Keep your eyes moving. Pull yourself out and make sure they see you.
These keys will allow you to unlock the information contained in these mobile zones that you can build around your vehicle.
In the next part of this presentation, we'll show you how to use these keys. But for now, we'd like to give you a very brief summary of what they can do for you. Key number 1 is aim high in steering. This key helps you extend your vision into your driving future. Now, we suggest scanning 15 seconds ahead of your vehicle, more when possible. This begins to open up the pre-action zone ahead of you. Drivers who have learned to develop good eye lead time usually make sound decisions and impress others with their smooth style of driving.
Key 2 is get the big picture. Too many people drive with large, important chunks of their traffic picture missing. This key will help you fill in the blanks. It will also help you decide how to place your vehicle in the traffic flow. You could not read this when the picture was incomplete. And people can't safely read their traffic picture when big pieces are omitted. It is said that knowledge is power. The big picture gives you the power to stay out of trouble.
Our third key is keep your eyes moving. You have 2 types of vision, clear central vision and indistinct peripheral vision. Though very different in nature, these 2 visual workhorses, acting as a team, are very effective information gathering tools. Notice here that you can see both of these pictures at once, but you can only see one of them clearly. You are using your central vision to focus on one of these scenes at a time. Your peripheral vision is your early warning system. It helps you detect trouble in the making. It also triggers your mind to send your central vision to investigate items of importance. These are the building blocks with which you will construct your big picture. Now, as you scan, you can probe the pre-action zone in the all-important areas to your sides and behind your vehicle. Key 4 is leave yourself an out. As you scan this picture, your eyes naturally move to the objects it contains. Good drivers also learn to see and use the space that resides between the objects. Space insulates people from mistakes by creating escape routes, and it serves as a conduit for information delivery.
Advanced drivers learn to place themselves near as much space as possible and to use the space to expand their awareness of the shifting traffic picture. Remember, space and visibility are what you should build into the reaction zone surrounding your vehicle. Our last key is make sure they see you. You may have space, visibility, and time, but others around you won't. That means they will be operating without all the information they need to make safe driving decisions.
You can help them make good decisions by communicating with them at critical moments. Your communication skills can help others avoid making mistakes when their actions might expose you to harm.
During the next segment of this presentation, we will be asking Jim Smith, Smith Systems Vice President of Training, to demonstrate how the keys can work for you. We have asked a group of camera operators to record his actions and his thoughts as he maneuvers his vehicle in a variety of traffic environments. He will build these zones around his vehicle and use them to deliver a safe, comfortable ride through a variety of traffic conditions. Let's watch Jim handle his vehicle in a very special way.
Okay, now that we're on the highway, we have to put our pre-action zone to work, and that pushes out even further than it did on the surface streets. A 15-second eye lead is up to the second green sign ahead. When we get closer to it, we'll start counting off that 15 seconds, which makes up key number 1, aim high in steering. Scanning the mirrors every 5 to 8 seconds, I need to keep aware of what's going on around me, even up here. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010, 1011, 1012, 1013, 1014, 1015. So that's a 15-second eye lead. At highway speeds, of course, it's going to be further ahead, about a quarter of a mile. Out on the city streets, it's a block and a half. Following distance is something else we have to watch. Different space at higher speeds. When this white van in front of us passes the pole on the right side of the road, we'll count off our following distance and see how many seconds we've got. 4 seconds is our minimum. They're passing it now. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, and a little bit. So a little over 4 seconds with following distance, we're good. With this space cushion around us, with the exception of this right rear corner, we've got a good reaction zone. Once he gets past us, it'll start building again. Our space cushion in front is good. The space to the right is good for the moment. The space to the left is good. The space to the rear is good. So we're in a good zone here. Once this person gets off our right rear corner, even better yet. But I've got some place to go in case of trouble. The people ahead are bunched up, so if something goes wrong, they've got very little opportunity to avoid it, and they have very little opportunity to recognize it. When they're bunched up like that, they're too busy watching each other. As I look off to the right, I've got some traffic that's merging onto the highway. There's space between me and them. Key number 4 is leave yourself an out, and that's the space that we're talking about. As I push my eyes up the road, I've got a couple of bright fluorescent signs that are up there, construction signs. And those signs are an indication that there could be some kind of warning that needs to be heeded. Drop it back a little bit. We've crept up on this white vehicle in front of us. I've got space to my left side, and to the right I'm starting to lose it. As these vehicles, these large trucks crest the top of the hill, they block the horizon, but I can look behind me and get a better view. You look back there and you see a nice cluster behind us. I'm going to make a lane change over into this lane to open up my visibility a little better, because I don't have trucks on either side or directly in front of me. I've got good vision in front of me. Notice that truck moved over at the last second. Pickup truck is kind of pushing it, if you will, from one lane to the next, trying to get off this highway. Scanning my left mirror, I see I've got good space in front of me. I've got good space to the rear of me. I've got good space. And to the right of me, I've lost my cushion for the moment, and now I've got it back as this guy gets past me. So I've got a good cushion around me. My reaction zone is nicely built. People aren't close to me. They can't hurt me. And if I make a mistake, I can't hurt them. if I do have to come to a stop, I want to come to a stop about a car length back from the intersection, or where I can see that white line in front of me. This is my out, key number 4, leave yourself an out, in case somebody hits me in the rear. I'm less apt to be pushed over a pedestrian and out into cross traffic. As I sit here looking ahead, I see that I've got a stale red light, and you notice the third light up has just turned to a fresh red. Scan the intersection left, right, left before I move out, and away I go. Again, in this right-hand lane, it becomes my responsibility to check the driveways, and as I check the driveways, I'm looking for any potential problems. My lane of least resistance on this road will be to the left. When I have the opportunity, I'll move over there. But until then, it's my responsibility to check these side streets and driveways, helping me establish my big picture and create my reaction zone. Scanning the intersection again, I've got folks that are moving over to the left and to the right. We've got 2 sets of lights up here, and both of these are stale green lights. I've got a good space cushion now in front of me, which is compensating for the lack of space behind me. This is what I call my point of no return. I take my eyes off the light, I scan the intersection for problems, and look up ahead. As we get to this light, this is also my point of no return, and I'm looking at the red light just beyond it. Tapping my brakes slightly, waiting for this taxi cab to go by, and then what I'll do is move off into the center lane. As he moves up just a little bit, so I move into this lane with some space, I'll now start to regain or reestablish my 4-second following distance. The truck behind me is starting to slow down. That's good. Off to the right, I'm losing space. I've got it back. To the left, I've got space. So I've got a reaction zone now that I can work with. My awareness of what's going on is much better than the taxi cab that's sitting up there with his nose stuck into the back of the SUV in front of him. His ability to see things is restricted. His ability to make choices because of where he is in traffic is also restricted. I've got space to my right, to my left. I'm about ready to build it to my rear. Coming up, point of no return on this light is right there. Eyes are off the light, through the intersection, and I head into my 15 seconds. Now, as this truck moves up, he's going to take up part of my visibility, so I need to get back. I'm watching his mirror to see whether or not he's even looking at me, and I see that he's not. Stale green light just on the other side of the road. See, we've got another stale green light. Tapping my brakes, thinking of my point of no return, and for me, it's right there. Eyes are off the light. I scan the intersection and look up ahead. Now, you can see pretty much what the average driver sees when they're behind a truck. Lots of truck and very little road. For us, what we need to do is either change lanes or drop back. In this case, a simple lane change to the left lane will improve our visibility. Nobody's using it, so I may as well. I've got space to my right now, got decent space to the front, and I've got somebody way too close behind me. So when I can safely do it, they've moved over. When I can safely do it, I'll move over to the center lane and allow that person to get past me. He's taking that into his own hands. Up ahead, we're looking at red, and beyond that, I'm looking over this bridge up to the next light. Checking behind me as I brake.
Keep these people in mind. We'll see them again in a few minutes.
Stale green light, you see the pack on the other side of the road coming away from it. Most of that pack has gone through, so the chances are this light may change on me. So I'm thinking about that point of no return. Scanning my right-hand mirror, Left mirror looks good, straight ahead, we're doing fine. This will be the point where I'm no longer gonna stop. Take my eyes off the light and use them to scan the intersection. I'm gonna move over here into this right-hand lane and see if I can encourage that dark vehicle to move past me. I'll drop back a little bit from this white van, scan the intersection, watching the white car, looking to the other side of the bridge, the other side of that turn. Now that I'm doing this, I'm starting to gain some space to the front, gaining space to the rear, and again, looking ahead to the other side of that bridge allows me to see a couple of warning signs in my pre-action zone telling me that there's a light ahead. Also, I noticed a pickup truck on the right side of the road, as well as a worker on the side of the road. Not a problem for me in this lane, but if I was in the right lane, like the guy passing me, it could become a problem. I'm gonna lay back just a little bit and see if we can't wait for these people to move. The light's not really green for me until the last person in line rolls, and after that, I need to have a good 4 seconds worth of following distance. One way we could check that is as we go past the next driveway where the white car is coming out, when the tail end of that white van goes past it, I'll count. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. So I've got a good 5 seconds worth of following distance, which is a second more than we even need with this particular vehicle. I'm looking at brake lights up ahead with a dark pickup truck. Could be an indication that there's a light. So I will push my eyes up as far as I can into that pre-action zone where I can gather the information I need to make intelligent choices in traffic. Scanning the driveways and the side streets as well as the large intersections for people that may blow through the stop signs or not heed the stop lights. As I move my eyes up the road into that pre-action zone, I see that I've got a stale green light and it says construction. Don't know which side of the road it's on just yet. I see another sign at the top of the hill on the right side of the road. My point of no return on this light is right here. What I'd like to do is move out of this right-hand lane, or center lane rather, to the left lane, get away from some of these signs that could be signaling a problem. Got a maroon car that's coming up on my right side. If I think there's going to be a problem like I'm seeing now, I need to watch for other people that are last minute low aimers that may try to push into this lane. Got eye contact with the guy with the skip loader, and I'm looking for any other workers. I see some over here to the right, but in this lane they're not a problem for me. What could be a problem is somebody that's dipping into the right lane to get around me on the right, not seeing the second problem up ahead. Way down the road, we see that we've got a stale light. Street sweeper shouldn't be a problem on the other side of the road, but it is something we would see. Looking at a white truck that's just cleared that intersection. The don't walk sign is up on it. My right side, I'm doing good with my space cushion. Got a person that's coming out from the right, looking at the angle of the tires as they touch the ground, telling me which way he wants to go and that he is going. Sometimes you look at a vehicle from a distance and it looks like it's sitting still, but you look at those front tires in relation to the ground, you see the driver's creeping out and getting ready to make a turn. Still have roadwork signs on the right side, so this is still my lane of least resistance. A large group of vehicles up there that have to move before I can go anywhere, so I'm not really worried about them. I have a Volvo that's riding in my blind spot off to the right side of the vehicle. And once that guy gets past me, I'll go ahead and make a lane change, realizing that we've got a fire station up ahead and looking for any signs of activity there. Just beyond that, I've got a dark vehicle that's sitting on the edge of the road. And a silver one down beyond it, just seeing whether or not a little tap of the horn, see if I can get some eye contact from that individual. His eyes are straight forward. This person's looking at me, so I don't have to tap the horn. I've got the eye contact I need. Behind me, I've got the white truck that we've been traveling with since the beginning of turning onto this road. So as I look, the people around me are pretty much the same people that we've been traveling with all the way down this road. The only difference between us and them is they've really worked themselves up into these packs and clusters where I've got the space and visibility that Smith System looks for. space for the vehicle, visibility for the driver. And the combination gives me the time to make decisions. Point of no return on this light is here. I'm scanning left, right, left, looking at the left turner, the right turner, and the Jeep just beyond that. Got a pedestrian to the right of me, and then up the road I've got a pedestrian along with a stale red light and what looks to be an overpass. So I push my eyes up in that pre-action zone. I'm trying to pick up what I can, watching the pedestrian's feet. Pointed forward, so chances are good he'll be moving forward. School bus on the right side of the road. Don't know if it's active or not, but I will be watching those front tires on that to see if it's starting to creep out. There is a driver, and he is looking this way. He's trying to get out into traffic. Scanning behind me, I've got the large white truck still. And as I move up, I notice that there's somebody that's partway out into the street. I've got a van and an SUV, both of them starting to creep. I'm going to hold my signal until I get just a little bit closer. That way I'm not encouraging those folks to pull out in front of me.
Some people have come to believe that safe driving is slow driving. In reality, it's smart driving. These are the vehicles that we called your attention to earlier in the show. Though through 7 minutes of driving, most of the vehicles in this picture turned off, these people remained in the traffic flow. As you can see, their stop-and-go driving, tailgating, and packing tendencies didn't yield any positive results. You can use Smith Systems concepts without extending your travel time. Experiment with these proven techniques. We think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
All right, so I realized the sound coming out of this was, hopefully people heard it. I can hear it over there, but I hadn't really paid attention. Yes, you hear it. The most important part of that was seeing him drive, and I realized that was kind of a long period of seeing some guy drive and talk, but you're seeing him practice it, which is something that you don't get to do sitting here listening to me talk about. So, one of the biggest points I want to make is the very last one, where you saw that they pointed out earlier the fact that he was throw it back at it. The fact that he was involved in, right? We were all traveling in a cluster, and these people tailgating or whatever, and they're all packed together. He's back doing his own thing, creating space, right? 7 minutes goes by, everyone else turned off except those few. You saw where they were. They didn't really gain that much ground. I mean, 100 yards ahead, maybe something like that. So, I mean, really, what's that do for you? Not much, right? Nothing. Just creates a lot of stress because you got people you're contending with, and it increases your chance of an accident. Pretty much what it does. So, to drop back and create space and visibility around it, it helps. And that's really what it's all built on, right? It's space, visibility, and time. That's what they said. So create space around the vehicle, allow yourself to have visibility so you can gather information, make good decisions, and then you have time to react. What are the 5 keys? So they said them multiple times. They showed them on the screen. You guys remember? Can you rattle any of them off? A-line steering. A-line steering. That was number 1. Good. What were some of the others?
Reaction zone and pre-action zone?
Well, they were talking about the pre-action zone, the reaction zone, and that's basically, allowing yourself space and time to react and visibility. But the 5 keys were A-line steering.
Leave yourself an out.
Leave yourself an out was 1. Get the big picture. Keep your eyes moving and make sure they see you. So this is all to simplify this. Here's what this means. Look ahead. Look ahead, plan ahead. That's what that's all about, right? This, gather information. Gather as much info as you can. Okay? This is pretty self-explanatory.